From MSN, caught on hot mic. What did Trump tell Bukele about homegrowns? So it's everyone's favorite Aaron Rupar. And he says, Trump to Bukele, quote, homegrowns are next. The homegrowns, you got to build about 5 more places. It's not big enough. Now, those are not familiar with Aaron Rupar. There is a technique in journalism called Ruparing. And that means you take a story and cut it out of context and falsely frame what actually happened.
Wait, Tim, are you making this up or can I find this on the internet somewhere?
Indeed you can. Should I pull it up?
Where could that be?
Yeah.
Urban Dictionary?
Urban Dictionary, but that only tells the truth, Tim.
Let's see. To Rupar. Here we go. Yep. We got it from Urban Dictionary. I didn't make it up. March of 2021. To lie with impunity, a brazen statement with a focus on misleading, usually with the intention of a predetermined outcome. To purposely mislead, to intentionally and grossly mischaracterize a statement and or video. Indeed, as Aaron Rupar publishes this clip, Trump to Bukele, homegrowns are next. I will tell you this. Donald Trump has stated publicly he'd like to send the worst of the worst from America to this prison in El Salvador. And I will tell you, my opinion is absolutely not. American citizens go through American courts, and we have Guantanamo Bay for the worst of the worst. We don't need El Salvador. That being said, in this clip, it looks like Trump is joking, and you don't really even know what he's saying because you can't make it out. Here's the clip. It's 30 seconds long.
Demanded the people wanted to change their governments, and they wanted to. He demanded, they love you, they love what you do. You know, I'm not your supporter. I want him to do, homegrown criminals next. Yeah. I said, homegrowns are next. The homegrowns, you got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right? it's not big enough. No, yeah. Come on. So this is a much different office than you're.
So I'm going to tell you, I don't know for sure. Trump has stated before he wants the worst of the worst in America to be sent to this prison. It seems like he was. I almost kind of feel like there was a news cycle where they were attacking Trump, saying he wants to send Americans to these prisons, and that the reason everybody in the room laughs is because he was making a comment on this. I don't trust that Aaron Rupar put out only 30 seconds of this. They called it hot mic. He's standing in front of a bunch of reporters, and he turns and says, I said the homegrowns are next. He's got to build more. Everyone laughs.
Yeah,
so I don't know. What do you guys think?
He's definitely known for literally turning to the reporters in the room when he's making jokes like that. So I don't think that he's being serious at all here. He makes eye contact basically with the reporters in the room.
But here's the real question for everybody. When Trump says the homegrowns are next, and we're talking about gang members, cartel murderers, child traffickers, what is the argument that with due process, a conviction, Donald Trump can't send a child trafficker to a prison in a foreign country?
Well, I suppose legally just devil's advocate, I suppose legally speaking, that would be releasing him to another government's custody. So he wouldn't actually be in our custody at that point. And so you'd have all sorts of legal issues there, because then I'm sure the Supreme Court would come in and say, well, you're depriving them all sorts of rights.
Or arguably releasing them.
Because, yeah, in a sense, but you're depriving them a right to appeal, right to attorney, all those things.
Indeed. Does Guantanamo Bay have all of those functions under the U.S. governance?
Yes, it does.
Indeed.
So then, Guantanamo Bay has, and I can say this as a source, I lived there for, and served there for almost a year.
They got McDonald's and stuff too.
Sure do have a McDonald's. They had a Subway. We had a bowling alley on Fridays and Saturdays. They did laser light bowling.
Wow.
2 movie theaters, by the way. I worked in the movie theater. It was pretty cool.
Waterboarding at Guantanamo Bay sounds really fun until you learn what it means. I didn't make up the joke. It's somebody else.
Rush Limbaugh used to have the T-shirts that said "Club Gitmo, your tropical retreat from the stress of jihad."
So I look at this and I just say to Trump, they
have lawyers and trials and all of it.
For the homegrown extremist criminals, we have Guantanamo Bay, and I don't know why we would need to use El Salvador for this. I would not want to see that happen.
Which, by the way, the actual facility of I think it's Camp 6 at Guantanamo is based on the same schematics as the Supermax in Colorado. So it is almost a 1-to-1. At least size. I don't know if size-wise it's exactly the same, but it's the same structure that you would get in a federal correctional institute.
What if we offered a choice to capital offenders, death row or El Salvador?
See, here's my thing, right? Here's my thing. Wait, capital offenders, you mean like so straight up, you will be killed
if you
right?
stay.
So death sentence.
Yep. Or we can send you to El Salvador.
No, I'm still
I
for
imagine they would mostly take El Salvador.
No, I'm still for the death sentence, that guys.
Yeah.
I think they would. I've changed my position on the death penalty because I was watching a protest over the firing squads in South Carolina. And I would say, not that I've changed my position to be in favor of the death penalty, but that I consider the will of others. I weigh that to what I believe and think it is fair, that I am not the arbiter of society. So what I would request is, in exchange for the death penalty, we have a system in which, following a conviction, putting someone on death row, the prosecutors and the investigators themselves, the police, will face an investigation from an independent agency outside the state or federal. And if it's federal, there'd have to be some way to do this, to investigate any malfeasance. That is, there are certain politicians who I will remain unnamed for, let's just call it community guideline reasons, who are known to have withheld evidence that would have exonerated death row inmates. That is my problem largely with the death penalty. That being said, if we had a safety net that would make sure that those criminals that are trying to get the state to murder people for whatever insane reason are held to account, then I'm much more willing to accept the death penalty existing. Despite the fact that I still fear innocent people being wrongly convicted, it's a compromise in that, I saw a woman holding up a sign that said, "Don't kill in my name." And the first thing I thought was, they're not. They acknowledge that you are not okay with this. But the will of the state and the voters is that they don't want these offenders who have been duly convicted to continue living as they're a threat to society. And I can respect that argument from everyone I had with it. My concern is still malfeasance in government. So I say, have an investigation to ensure that there is no malfeasance and that certain prosecutors from California can't withhold evidence that would result in innocent people dying.
We one of the things that we also brought up though is the Lee Kuan Yew option, and so this of course is the guy who cleaned up Singapore, which was, by the way, I wouldn't say it was a similar situation to El Salvador, but bears some similarities. It's small, it's like a city, sort of a nation state, city state, and he introduced famously flogging. So rather than mass incarceration, right? Now think about it though, right? So you're talking about the option. Would you pick this or that?
Yeah.
So. Rather than this or that, what if instead think about it, right? Hey, you're facing 20 years for this crime. So non-capital crimes, let's say, okay, you're facing 20 years for this crime. What are you going to take? 20 years or 20 lashes?
Well, I mean, bro, it would be 20 years is a serious offense. You get way more than 20 lashes for that.
Well, it could be 100 lashes for 20 years.
Right.
But you get what I'm saying in terms of the thought.
Everyone takes the lashes.
Everyone takes the lashes.
Yeah. And then you're scarred for life. But I agree with that.
But it works for Singapore.
The reason why I agree with this is it's not a violation of cruel and unusual punishment if they're given a choice.
Yep.
We will give you standard incarceration, but there's an alternative. And we do alternatives all the time. We do work release. Mm-hmm. So why, and they do, if you fight fires, okay. So why don't we offer up?
Russia is doing, frontline
1 year in prison, 1 year in prison or 1 month in the stockade.
What if option 3?
A month in the stockade.
Oof. A year in prison is a long time to lose.
Even a month in the stockade, that's rough.
Yeah. Well,
Outside in the elements.
Okay, right.
You
Okay.
get to go in at night.
So, my assumption on the stockade is
you'll probably die of exposure if you're.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So you can go to the stockade for a short amount of time, a week or two or something. But my point is, there will be people making sure you don't die, obviously. It's just you're in public, everyone can see you, you are shamed, and you suffer for a certain period of time, but you have a choice.
This is why we had stockades. This is why, you think about it, it's like people are so, which by the way, people get, mass incarceration. No, mass incarceration was originally part of the original small p progressive movement. The idea was that you would have, that rather than have public floggings and public executions and stockades, then you would go to mass incarceration. So, and then suddenly progressives say, oh, this is so much better. This is so much more wonderful. And now they're all upset about the mass incarceration.
Yeah. So for those that are saying, wait, what's a stockade? It's this. You've seen it.
Yeah.
Phil, show the people.
You've got they just hold you in the wood.
Stockade, yeah.
Yeah. So you're held in position, and it's for a certain period of time. Maybe what I mean to say is
It's painful, but it's also humiliating, and that's the point.
right. So obviously a month, probably too long, you probably die. So it'd be like a week or something because
Military stockade would hold soldiers for days to weeks pending trial.
wow.
For minor offenses, drunkenness or petty theft, you'd be a few hours to a couple days.
I think we save a lot of money. I think we save a lot of money.
Just saying, guys, there's other options, okay? There's other options.
There is. Yeah, I think when Trump's talking about homegrowns, if he's talking about capital offenses that would result in the death of an individual, what are the leftists angry about? Well, in their mind, Trump is saying Mahmoud Khalil. In their mind, Trump is having some like little old lady going, "You're a tyrant," getting sent to El Salvador. No. What Trump is talking about, he said the worst of the worst. We're talking about capital offenders, child traffickers, drug dealers, cartels, etc. The point he was making is that there are cartel members in this country that were born in this country, and they work and serve the cartels that are foreign to this country. Personally, I say, well, Guantanamo is good enough. I don't want to open the door to that. It's a slippery slope. But that being said, it's not a violation of the 8th Amendment to offer choices. I don't see how that's cruel and unusual at all. No. You can go to prison like normal. Everybody goes there. It'll give you an option.
I would say, though, if you are worried about price, the cost of incarcerating someone at Guantanamo is very exorbitant compared to within the confines of the mainland.
Yeah, if there's a situation where Trump feels the individual is so egregious and so violent that they're not getting the death penalty for whatever reason, maybe they have information or something, I don't know, it makes sense to pay the premium for Guantanamo for whatever strategic military or intel purposes we would need for that. That's why I believe it exists. Otherwise, I don't know why Trump would want to send anybody anywhere. Is it because it's cheaper in El Salvador?
Well, for El Salvador, yeah, because these are illegals to begin with, so it makes sense to send them there rather than send them to Gitmo. If we send them to Gitmo, we have to pay for them. Well, a lot of the reason for having Bukele do this and why it's such a smart idea, it's even smarter than sending them to Gitmo, and I say this as a guy who is supportive of Gitmo, that and there's so many conspiracy theories and myths about that place, I swear. The guys who have been released, they just all lie. They all just straight up and lie. The guy went on Jordan Peterson, he's like, oh, I was tortured every day. Like, no, you weren't, dude. I was there. It's we're not bearing the cost. Bukele is actually paying for the United States.
Right.
We're saving the money from having to do this. It's a great business deal from Trump's perspective. We
got a couple more segments I want to try and get in. So before we jump to the ADHD one, I just want to mention, as we have it in this segment, the law of self-defense, Branca, says, I'm with Jack Poso on the lashes if the victim gets to deliver the lashes.
Ooh, I like that. I love that.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.